Tonight, international leisure travel is still at a standstill, even as vaccines are rolled out. So focus has turned to domestic tourism. But what's being done to ensure Singapore keeps its shine in the longer term? To tell us more, we're joined by Keith Tan, CEO of the Singapore Tourism Board. Keith, thanks for joining us. Latest figures show 300,000 Singaporeans have used up the Singapore Rediscovers vouchers, with $36 million of bookings made. Now, some would view this as poor response compared to the $320 million set aside till June. Tell us what STB is doing in response.
Well, the key thing is to get our tourism businesses to offer good products and experiences that entice Singaporeans to go out and spend, to go out and visit. And I've been very encouraged to see many examples of our tourism stakeholders coming up with new, interesting, exciting products that otherwise people wouldn't be able to find. So, for example, the National Gallery of Singapore has launched an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour that takes people to restricted parts of the National Gallery, the former Supreme Court, and ends off with an afternoon tea at the Courtyard Cafe. Other hotels are partnered with tour operators to do walking tours, cooking classes, and these are exciting and interesting experiences. So we would encourage Singaporeans to take advantage of these opportunities now.
Well, in what ways can domestic tourism be expanded potentially to reap lasting benefits beyond the pandemic? And how will STB help local businesses spruce up in these areas?
Well, the key thing for expanding the benefits is, I think our local tourism businesses must learn how to adapt these products for the future. As I've said, these are very interesting products that many of which didn't exist before the COVID pandemic. So I'm hoping that they will retain these products, adapt them for future travelers, especially when borders reopen. Because I'm quite confident that many of these products and offerings, which often cater to smaller groups because of our safe management measures, would be precisely the sorts of products that would appeal to more hygiene and safety conscious travelers when travel and borders reopen. So I think tapping on the existing experience now and using it to apply to the future when borders reopen safely. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of longer term benefits, I think it's also just the relationships that they are forming with each other. As I've noticed, there are different sorts of merchants coming together, hotels, tour operators, attractions coming together. And I hope that those sorts of relationships will continue into the future as they work together to find and create new and innovative products for the future. In terms of sprucing up for the future travelers, well, that's been going on all along. Our tourism industry doesn't stand still. Haw Par Villa has been undergoing a number of projects to, for example, improve its nighttime lighting and ventilation systems. Resorts World is continuing its ongoing redevelopment plans. iFly Singapore has also done some sprucing up. We've had new hotels opening up this year and coming last year and coming up this year as well. And so I'm very confident that there will be new products and offerings both for locals and for visitors when our borders reopen.
All right, Keith, let's talk about the MICE industry. We've had 29 MICE events, MICE pilots as of the 31st of December last year. What are some key takeaways from these pilots that will help Singapore strengthen the industry in the new normal?
We trialed these pilots under the framework of our Safe Business Events framework that we created last year. And this framework was meant to give us a discipline to think about how to organize MICE events safely in a COVID environment. Now, the key learning point here is that this is not a static framework. We have to keep adapting. So with each MICE event, each MICE pilot that we do, we learn from what's practical, what's safe, what's doable, and we improve as we aim to work towards larger, more complex events. So one of the key learning points so far for us is that when we plan for these events, especially when there are sizable numbers of international travelers, then we need to think hard about how we ensure an end-to-end process from the time even before those travelers come to Singapore up to the time after they leave Singapore. We want to ask them to think about their health, observe whether they have developed any sorts of symptoms, and if they don't, then very safe. That's good for them, it's good for their assurance, it's good for ours as well. So planning these sorts of things, an end-to-end experience, planning for the infrastructure to make sure that even at these events, people can interact safely and yet also have an uncompromised quality of interactions with buyers and sellers and other people whom they meet at these events. That's quite crucial for the future success of our MICE industry here in Singapore.
Right, and it seems it'll be a while before borders reopen for leisure travel. What new ideas does STB have to ensure that Singapore can attract tourists again when international travel resumes?
Well, the key thing for us is to make sure that we are number one in the minds of travelers when borders start reopening. So therefore, we are investing a lot of effort in making sure that others around the world know what we are doing here in Singapore. And that's whether that is in terms of keeping things safe and opening our attractions and hotels safely, or how we organize our events so that they are done in a safe way. Because we think that it's not a surprise, that travelers will want to prioritize their safety and health when they can start traveling again. So getting that message out that Singapore remains very safe, is a destination that cares about the wellness and health of our visitors, and yet still provides them with great experiences. I think that's a key message we want to keep on selling and sending to potential visitors from all over the world, so that we remain number one in their minds.
Thank you, Keith. We've been speaking to Keith Tan, CEO of the Singapore Tourism Board.